Welcome back to Salos Wildlife Park. Let's build a muddy paradise for peccaries. Hi, hello, and hey to all of you watching. So this habitat is a big one. I wanted to just get some muddy, messy, fun animals in to crest off the marshy wetland park area I had built. And naturally, the best candidates for that were the collared peccaries. Not sure if I'm saying that correctly, I did Google it. Peccaries, the little dignified hog animals that we have. They're really lovely. I don't remember exactly who built the habitat that inspired this, but it was basically just a huge, messy pit for them to get all in and enjoy being their messy selves. And I wanted that here, but I wanted it as huge as possible for them to just run amok. I actually think I'm going to turn on breeding specifically for these guys as well, to have a few babies. I managed to snag an albino or cystic, an all-white peccary off the shop, even though I'm in sandbox mode. Her name is Olivia. She's really lovely, and she's definitely the princess of the park. She is in the ending cinematics. So shiny Pokemon aside, I thought having a waterfall to top off the waterways that I had already built worked pretty well, and so I got to work building a massive rock wall. I think I'm using, these are the recolorable ones from ZSH Plays, and just some other little masses that I think I built. I probably stole them from the entrance waterfall. And just plopping them down, because if you hit Z a few times and rotate them, no one can tell that it's the same thing. So yes, this is a huge habitat. Like I said, I just wanted it to be a huge fun ground. There's only one viewing area, but the peccaries are really active, so I think it works. They're always in front of the guests, and it's really lovely. These are not barriers I built either. They're straight off the workshop. I don't remember who by. But I thought they looked sturdy, not too rustic, not too modern, perfect for a messy, muddy habitat like this. This was kind of just a project I started because I wanted to have a bit of fun, and as you can see, I did link it roughly down to the marshland that the mute swans and the mallards live in, next to our lovely bistro and monorail station. So I think it's a really nice entryway to the rest of the park. I also I saw a few instances of people having the monorail or another ride kind of just gracefully go over the viewing gallery. It's kind of like a framing and just advertisement for the ride. So I thought that looked really cool. Adding a bit of movement over the top of the viewing area really sells it for me. I think it's a lovely little frame. And for once, I'm actually really happy with the footage that I got for this build. I think I show the full process, all of the nasty bits and all of the boring bits. Thankfully, I've sped everything up 300%, so it's hopefully not too boring. But I finally gotten the bones of the habitat down. That gap in the rockwork is where their hard shelter will go. I'm not very creative when it comes to that. I just put down a house, make it look nice, add a keeper gate into the wall, and move on. And I'm trying to get better about that. But, they're peccaries. They don't need anything super fancy. And they're rarely in there, if I'm honest. For the cinematics, they're actually coming out of the hard shelter, which is a rarity, because I caught them at like nap time. And I again went for these Indonesian brick walls because I've used them throughout the park and they're recolorable, so I could make them look a bit grungy if I wanted to. So with this final piece in the outline, the bonework of the habitat, thank you for being here. I think this is episode 5, which is crazy to think about, but as I said last time, the park has grown so much. in the past few weeks that I haven't really been able to edit and keep up with all of the progress, which is completely on me, but I'm just excited to be able to share it somehow with people who are interested. And I do have a small community on Instagram and Discord as well. So thank you if you're here from one of those platforms. It means the world to me. Also, since we're on the topic of personal notes, if I sound a bit different, my cat has insisted on sitting in my lap while I do this, so I'm a bit further from the mic. But anyway, so the outline of the habitat is completely done, and that means it's time for rock work. Not a whole lot of vegetation is going to go into this habitat because the peccaries would just snoot it all up anyway. They just destroy all of it and make a muddy mess out of everything, so rocks are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting here, and I tried my best to make it look as natural as possible. I got a comment on, I think, one of my shorts last week that said my style reminds them of Caesar Creates, and that is just the biggest compliment I think I've gotten in at least a year. Totally inflated my ego. But I really do just love layering all these pieces and seeing them come together. I pulled a lot of the vegetation that I had already used in the other parts of the park. I wanted this to look a bit more deserty, a bit more grasslandy, just because it was going to be a big open space. I wanted like the orange to pop a bit more, so it's a bit more interesting and not just, plain gray and boring brown mud areas. And these rock formations, one, they're to add interest, but also, as you've just seen, they cover a bit of the enrichment items, the sprinklers. I usually just recolor them to look like a rock and sink them down into the surface of the rock, just so that like the blades are sticking out, so it does still look a bit realistic and man-made, but not completely obtrusive as the base game objects do if you just plop them onto the ground. And even though I did say I wanted the monorail going over the habitat, I wasn't sure how I felt about the poles being in the habitat itself. The peccaries obviously don't mind, but I just, I don't know, I felt like they kind of ruined the illusion a bit. But, plop some buffalo grass down and anything is possible. So as you can see, I've already done this for one of the mud bath enrichment things in the back there, but I wanted as many as I could get down here, and just to make it look like kind of blended in with the landscape as much as possible, which is fairly easy. I used a few of the darker color rocks to make it look a bit more wet and muddy, because, that is just the goal of the build. The peccaries are not going to be gentlemen cleaning off their hooves before they get in and out of the mud bath, so yeah, I expanded the water area as well, just to sell the idea that it's a complete mud bath. Just the whole area is for them to have fun and do their sunbathing and then go for a dip and then make a mess and just be peccaries. And honestly, they have done exactly that. It's really... I haven't played a zoo game since I was a very small child playing Zoo Tycoon 2. That was badly translated from Mandarin that my dad got from God knows where. But the animal AI is just so amazing. I fall in love with them every time. I'm always like, oh, it's not that exciting, it's just a peccary. And then I get them in and they're just fantastic and lovely. So yeah. Yeah, I have curated a really nice favorite plants list. Oh, there's Olivia, my white little peccary. I did get them in and asked them if the size and everything was good for them. If the enrichment was good. I think they asked for a bit more food, which, of course, gave it to them, no problem. But yeah, they instantly got in and started running amok, doing their thing. And this, I wanted to have kind of like a bit of a dock. One for the peccaries, because I thought it would be useful for them to not have to swim to get to that like last third of the habitat, but also it would just look more realistic for the keepers. because obviously they probably don't want to wade through that disgusting water to get over there. And I haven't put anything that they actually need to get to over there. It's just a mud bath. But surprisingly, the peccaries use it quite a lot. They jump on and off of it constantly. It's really lovely. They hop up onto it from the water shallow enough and, you know, just jump into the water. Basically like a dock at a lake or something. It's really cute. And yeah, here, just adding poles for the realism to sell the vision. And I'm quite pleased with how this turned out. I added a lot of grunge decals onto it to, one, hide that seam between the log pieces, and two, just because there's no way that this would be a clean situation at all, so I just layered them quite heavily here. I really didn't expect this to be as successful as it has been, but it was one of my favorite things to build in the habitat. I was very proud of the idea and how it ended up looking. And I figured of all the places in the habitat to be overgrown, it was going to be this kind of small division between this river and the marshland and probably the dock, just because, I don't know, felt right. Plants usually grow around the docks and things and get, you know, nice and mossy and all of that. So I played around for quite a while, sinking down a bunch of any plant that I thought could work. I wanted to have a bit of kind of lichen over the surface of the water. But I kept finding lovely desert plants along the way, so I was getting a bit distracted and popping things in other places. So we're finally at kind of the last few steps of this habitat, getting all the grass where it needs to be, and just the final touches in this outdoor area. But looking forward to the rest of the park, it's I have since built 2.5 habitats. I'm halfway through the third one, and a small exhibition area. I've also included a cafe, and the next habitat that we'll be building together it has probably my most ambitious viewing area yet. It's a completely underwater tunnel, and it took me, I think, 4 or 5 tries, and a bunch more touching up things after it was actually in, and I did a lot of that off camera, but all of this fun stuff, the decorating and everything, I will share with you guys. And yeah, I left this task to like the last moment. I don't know why. It just did not sound appealing to me, covering this waterfall up with rocks to make it look more natural, even though it was bothering me for the entire build. But I'm really happy that I did include the waterfall. I wasn't sure about it because obviously, I don't know, like the peccaries aren't a huge ticket item, and I already included a bunch of water features in the entrance plaza. But I think they deserve it after getting them in there and seeing them run around and everything. So finally onto that hard shelter. I again just wanted it to be pretty simple. I wasn't sure about the space in general, but yeah, just getting what they needed in. And I usually do custom troughs for the water or the food or something, but the peccaries are quite low to the ground, so I wasn't sure exactly what to do, so I just popped them onto these beams. And I think it works quite well. It took me a minute, but I think it definitely sells the illusion that they're fancier than just metal plates on the ground. Going this extra step and kind of enhancing the in-game enrichment and habitat necessities was something I put off for quite a while when learning Planet Zoo, and to be honest, I still kind of do. There are many more ways I could have gone about this to make it prettier, a bit more endearing or unique looking, but it really just helps all these little details add up to create a better looking environment for your animals. With that being said, I didn't do anything for these food troughs. I I quite like the look of these. I think they're fairly interesting, and I don't know, it's just peccaries, you know, you wouldn't really truly expect them to have anything super unique, and they're flexi colors, so you can make them blend in a bit better to the habitat. So yeah, I plopped them everywhere I could because lots of peccaries all over the place at the same time, and yeah, just wanted them to be as active and mobile as possible. We are in the last few stages of this habitat with the final few clumps of grass going in and all of the backstage blueprints. I always plop down just every set that I have that I think could work and then just pull from it. And there is a lot of that footage that I just cut out because it's just me zooming back and forth, which is not very fun, especially sped up for this style of build video. That I can't recommend it enough. Either making a set of your own or just going onto the Steam Workshop and downloading everything that you can see regarding backstage stuff, because it just makes the space really come alive. I usually try and sell a little bit of fantasy with these backstage areas. I want the story to be, I guess, relevant for those looking at them. I know a lot of people neglect the backstage, but they're honestly one of my favorite parts of the habitat, and it is mostly due to these blueprints. But for this, I wanted it to feel like the keepers were just getting set up for feeding time. They had gotten all the stuff in, and they were in the middle of, spreading the food out for the peccaries when this was all set up. So yeah, I've left a lot of cartons of food and the wheelbarrow, obviously. And with all of that in place, we could finally do the roof. Really simple. I've said this 100 times and I'll say it 100 more. I am horrible at roofs in any game. I procrastinate them and overthink them and just end up going with a flat or really simple angled roof most of the time. But here I think it works because, again, they don't need anything super special in this habitat. Just something that works and has the space they need. I did want it to look a bit run down though. I added quite a lot of grunge where the peccaries would be running around and getting everything dirty, and it would just constantly be dusty and muddy in this entire habitat, so I needed to make that work. I did add a small window as well, as you can see, because it was painfully dark in here and the lights in Planet Zoo can only do so much, so I wanted it to feel a bit less like a dungeon, especially with the metal bars that I use for their pens. I thought about adding another sunroof like I did in the first habitat, but to be honest, I wanted the peccaries to have somewhere shady to retreat to in the day since they barely have any tree cover in their habitat. To add a bit more realism, I went ahead and pulled more of these beams that I made for the entrance and adjusted them to support this roof. As you can see, I did build up this backstage area to be basically a second staff area because I thought it would be a good place for one. It's also far enough away from the main path that it won't affect the guests, and it just keeps everything pretty centralized and neat and tidy. I think it's also pretty realistic, adding on to an existing brick building and just making a few more little maintenance huts or whatever. So with the backstage relatively complete, we could finally move on to the viewing gallery. I did a really simple, just kind of deck layout. I used the same stained wood pieces that I used throughout the entrance. And as you can see, this habitat does essentially touch on the open habitat with the mute swans and the mallards. And the birds are very active. They're constantly moving around, which means they're always on top of these paths. They're even in this viewing gallery with the guests looking at the peccaries, just surveying their kingdom. So that has really created this high traffic focal point introduction to the rest of the park, which I've really loved so far. And I've gotten some amazing shots, so I will leave you guys with the cinematics. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.